We're right now the fastest growing sports brand in the US.
The move in Adidas today, putting it now neck to neck with Nike.
Well, it looks like Nike's living up to its motto, just do it.
Nike continues to soar. It's adding about 54 points to the Dow right now. Was the quarter that good?
5 years ago, Nike and Adidas were at their peak. These legacy brands had been around for generations, but had evolved from low-margin apparel into high-margin footwear in the 2010s. Everyone was suddenly a sneakerhead, but for Adidas and Nike in particular, their sneakers were more than just a fashion statement or status symbol. They were now assets with unprecedented appreciation and resale value. Anyone with time and cash could flip a few pairs from a couple $100s into a few thousand. The brands achieved record earnings as shoes flew off the shelves without discounts or markdowns. Stores were crowded, social media went wild over the latest drop, and pairs sold out within minutes. There was no rhyme or reason behind this craze. With so much money at stake, low interest rates, and insatiable demand, no one, not even Nike, Adidas, or Foot Locker, stopped to question why. That was until people stopped buying. Media dinosaurs and content farms have all attempted to explain the fall of Nike through age-old business tropes and interviews with boomers for easy clicks. They push low-effort fortune cookie analysis that it's because new brands are suddenly in, that Jordans and Yeezys are now unfashionable, or that Nike simply produced too many shoes.
The competitive environment is very, very tough, and Nike's been off their game.
The company has fallen behind in one of the hottest areas of consumer sports right now, which is running. This is something that really took off during the pandemic. We all needed our mental health walks. We all took up jogging, right, in our free time.
At the same time, they are taking their biggest franchises, Air Force One, Air Jordan One, so AJ One, and the Dunk, and they are what we call franchise managing them, meaning that they're taking them out of the marketplace. That is a very, very dangerous thing to do.
What these amateurs get wrong is that revenue is a lagging indicator, not a leading one. When the money was easy, everyone was a player, and sneaker shops were opening up all around the country. Now that the market has crashed, most stores have gone bankrupt, and many resellers have moved on to flip the next shiny thing. The sneaker industry is a modern case study on not just how fast consumer markets can change, but also the importance of adaptation and expertise in business. If we want to truly understand the business of sneakers, we have to go into this world and see the hustle of the few who are left. The first is a young gun in Los Angeles who's grinded his way up since high school and has staked it all to open his own shop during this downturn. And the second is the sneaker king of New York, who's been in the game since the very beginning, has lived through every high and low, and runs a flagship store right across the Empire State Building. This episode is sponsored by NetSuite by Oracle, the leading cloud financial system powering companies all around the world. If you're a business owner, a leader, or a rising high performer at a company, you know your most valuable resource is time. Making decisions quickly and correctly are what keep you from falling behind your competition. Not every answer can be found with brute force or by simply throwing bodies at the problem. You have to know what you know and what you don't, and having a single source of truth like NetSuite is what matters most. NetSuite ERP is an all-in-one AI-powered cloud business management solution that simplifies and scales with your business so you can see everything that's going on at all times, whether you're a startup or a global corporation with multiple business units or subsidiaries. In NetSuite, you get to see your whole business visualized throughout your entire company and can dive as deep as needed into anything operational, financial, or transactional. No one wants to deal with another subscription SaaS that only does a quarter of the job, or play a game of telephone with 4 different people just to get the answer to one question. NetSuite is the source of truth in visibility, monitoring, and control. Don't waste time and money paying for multiple tools and still manually copying and pasting values into spreadsheets when NetSuite has everything: accounting, budgeting, tax compliance, forecasts, modeling, inventory, and product tracking. You can find how much you have of one product, the exact aisle, shelf, and warehouse it's on just as quickly as finding your profit and loss for the quarter. Over 37,000 companies have already made the move to NetSuite, so what's stopping you? By popular demand, NetSuite has extended its one-of-a-kind flexible financing program for a few more weeks. Head to netsuite.com/modernmba. That's netsuite.com/modernmba. netsuite.com/modernmba. It's Saturday morning in grimy downtown Los Angeles. Just a few blocks down from the infamous Skid Row and hidden in plain view on this sketchy industrial strip is one of LA's last remaining sneaker conventions. Hundreds of people have gathered here to buy, sell, and trade sneakers. While everyone here is an independent reseller, Leo is the only one who owns a sneaker shop. The supply will dictate his spend, and his goal is to restock.
How negotiable are you on this one?
Do you have an offer?
I'd be under 3. Be like mid 2s.
3 was kind of my best.
This is the other one?
Yeah.
Okay, check it out. Did you go 260?
I think 3 is my best for right now.
I'll take it. That's cool.
As the sneaker market crashed, meetups like these have become rare, attendance is volatile, and it's impossible for even Leo to predict whether this event will be fruitful. With a budget of $10,000 in cash, he's at peace walking away with nothing and keeps everything low-key.
How much on this one?
Those are my 9s.
You take 8?
No.
No worries.
It's no coincidence that Leo arrives right at opening while most sellers are still setting up their tables. He's trying to get in and out as fast as possible. While conventions like these are a business in themselves with ticketing, organizers, security, and food vendors, Leo's guard is up. The downturn has only brought out more of the desperate, and he's constantly watching out for shady characters who are here just to steal, pickpocket, or push fakes. And the longer he stays, the bigger the crowd will get, and the higher the risk increases.
Good. Appreciate it, bro. Thank you.
On his first pass, Leo is feeling out not just the inventory, but also the vibes of each seller with small talk. He skips past the tables who are peddling the newest, never-worn sneakers. There's little opportunity for deal-making, as these sellers are the least flexible and have already sunk so much securing these shoes in the first place.
How much? 120. 120. I'd probably be at 120. Oh yeah, for sure 120.
The issue with new shoes is that profit margins are generally constrained to 20 to 25% at best. Instead, the highest margins are in pre-owned sneakers, where pricing is not standardized and intuition is everything. It's where and how Leo has cut his teeth and built his business over the past 6 years. In the sneaker world, the best condition is called dead stock, which means new, unworn shoes, including the original box, laces, and tags. While StockX is the benchmark for finding the current fair market price, it only applies to new sneakers. Fair market pricing is non-existent when it comes to pre-owned. A pre-owned shoe will always cost less than new, but there is no consensus on how much less.
When a new shoe comes out, people kind of have like an idea of like what they're going for. With the used shoes, people can really price however they want. And so we leverage that, and we're paying a little lower, so our margin is a lot higher. And when we're buying pre-owned sneakers, we're looking for tons of different factors such as condition, if it comes with the original box, the extra laces, the insoles. There's different things like star loss, heel drag, if the uppers are clean, if there's any fading. When a customer comes in, they're looking at these things too, so I have to, have that consumer mindset and make sure that we're buying shoes that people can actually wear.
Beyond condition, models continuously fall in and out of fashion, and this has a real-time impact on resale value, like Jordan 1s. Certain models, based on how they're manufactured, also impact resale value. Air Maxes and Jordan 3s all crumble over time, which kills their future resale value. Only those with the knowledge of supply, demand, and condition on a per-model basis can accurately appraise, negotiate, and close deals on used sneakers within seconds. To win in this game, you need to know the maximum that a shoe is worth as a buyer, and then the minimum you could flip it for on today's market based on current conditions.
The person that wants to spend $150 to $200 on a shoe, they're not really gonna be super specific if it comes with the box or not, versus someone that's looking to spend $2,000 on their shoes. They're looking for more so of like a collectible or like the whole experience, right? So you're looking at a 100, 200, 300, sometimes even more of a loss.
Buyers browse the convention with clipboards and phone in hand, referencing spreadsheets and websites to figure out their next bid. For Leo, it's all in his head. He knows the price floor for every model like the back of his hand, and when the haggling starts, he issues bids within seconds.
What's your best? 130. I'm already buying a bunch. Yeah.
Finance is an industry built on information arbitrage, and the sneaker business is no different. This seller passes all the marks for Leo. His shoes are pre-owned, have their original boxes, and are all 10 to 10.5, the most common shoe size in North America. If his shoes were 6 or 16, that would only lower their worth, as the more unconventional the shoe size, the smaller the market. Leo picks up that this dude is hoping to get rid of everything in one go and moves quickly to deal.
I'm buying them all.
All right, where are we at?
He can give the seller liquidity and inventory clear-out in exchange for volume discounts. Shoes that were $280 become $200, and pine green Jordan 4s that can be flipped for $450 come down to $300.
What's your best on the J Balvin? You said 4.
3.
I'll do 3.
Take 3?
Yeah. So we're at, it was at 110, 130. It was what, 180. Pine green was 300. Orange lobster was 200. There's 21 right here and 21 pairs.
Before leaving, he hands out his socials to the seller. For Leo, these events are essential in not just restocking, but also in branding. Given the slower deal flow these days, resellers prefer going to conventions where multiple buyers come to them, rather than driving around trying to deal with one shop at a time. New owners like Leo can no longer bank on walk-ins alone for inventory, and they use these few in-person events to make a name for their shop and to proactively cop the best product available. The face-to-face relationship building is more important than ever as shop reputations are in the dirt. Sneaker shops are now known to bait and switch, promising one offer over the phone and then lowballing after sellers show up. This seller didn't know Leo before, but given the positive transaction, he now knows he can bring future shoes to Leo and not have to wait for the next event to cash out. As Leo loads up his purchases, he begins to attract the attention of the crowd. They see his stacked cart and know he's got the cash to spend.
How much you want?
Like, I let him go for the low for you.
How low?
Shit, 100.
That's not low enough.
No?
Nah.
Damn, what's low for you?
I pay like 40 on these.
40?
Yeah.
Fuck. How about 80?
I'll go 60, but that's my best.
75?
I can't.
Damn.
Yeah.
And would it be cash or Venmo?
Yeah, cash.
Cash? And you said what's your highest?
60. What are you on this?
I'll let these go for the low too, $120.
I'm good on that one.
Okay.
I'll pay 60 for the 12s.
60 for the 12s?
Yeah.
How about...
I'm firm on that. Yeah.
Can you come up $10?
I can't.
Can we coin flip it?
It'd be 50, 70.
Can it
Yeah.
be, I have 50, 80.
Yeah, 60 is really my best on that one.
God damn it. Alright, shit, man. $60 too low for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your best on the coin flip? Let's do 50, 70.
50, 70 on these?
Yeah.
Alright, yeah, because I wanted 70, so I'll do 50, 80.
Alright. You have a coin on you? I would do Siri.
Oh, wait a minute. Did I say 50, 80?
Yeah. You want to keep it?
Yeah, I'll keep it.
No worries.
Okay.
All right, bro. Thank you. You guys selling? Are they used, brand new? Can I take a look? How much you want on these?
We're supposed to do 250. We can negotiate.
Yeah, I'd probably be like under 200 on this one. How much here?
Yeah, we're supposed to do 240.
Okay, I'll pass on that one. Okay. Be interested here. How much here?
240.
I'd offer like 160 on this one.
160. I can do 200 flat.
I'll do 170. That'd be my best. No.
2 flat.
Okay. You do 180 here.
180 and 200.
What about here?
Do 200 on those. I'll do 180 and 130.
I'll just do 180, 130 here then. 200. Nah, yeah. 180, 180, and 140. Because you're only $10 higher.
190, $10.
So 180, 190, 140. That's cool.
I'll do it for sure.
Okay.
It only takes Leo a few minutes to assess that these sellers are not only desperate, but also overconfident and misinformed. Their shoes just aren't worth as much as they think.
I'll probably pay like 80 each.
80? Nah, I'm good, bro.
Okay. Any shoe that if you brought it up to me, brand new or pre-owned, most likely I can tell you exactly what we're willing to pay, especially on pre-owned and SKUs that we see a lot more often. I don't even have to check my phone. There's years and years of experience going into that, touching thousands of shoes. I mean, maybe even like hundreds of thousands of shoes over my lifetime, right? And trying to price these shoes as well. There's so much knowledge that's going into that.
For Leo, he got his start in sophomore year in high school 6 years ago in 2018. He started selling his own sneakers to friends, moving a pair or two a week, building up capital, knowledge, and confidence.
In high school, what I would do is I figured out some shoes that sold really well to my peers. So what I would do is I would bid on StockX. I would wake up sometimes and maybe 2 of my bids got accepted for like a total of $300. But I didn't really have $300, so if I would overdraft, I'd be like, fuck, like I gotta pay this overdraft fee. And then I would ask my friends to borrow money, be like, hey, like let me borrow $200-300. Once I get the shoe in and I sell it, I'll pay you back.
After graduation, he upped his game by creating his own brand on Instagram and hitting up Melrose Avenue, a shopping street that had been taken over with sneakerheads and sneaker shops.
Melrose specifically was like the hub of like streetwear culture in LA. All these major sneaker stores, Round 2, Cool Kicks, all started on Melrose. Me and my friends would just go shop on Saturdays. We would just walk around, you know, go to all these shoe stores. I realized there was money to be made there, and there was kids that would sit outside these stores and intercept these potential sellers. I slowly just started going every Saturday. I would have my mom drop me off. I would sit there on the block just with a bunch of kids that I didn't even know, you know. All we had was this common love for shoes. And we would just sit there, wait for these people to come by and try and buy their shoes off them, and then we would take them home, clean them up, and sell them on Instagram. Pretty much everything that I know now, I got from Melrose. Building customer relations, learning how to negotiate with customers, pricing strategies, how to buy, how to do things really quickly, because a lot of the times you're on a time crunch. You're at an event, you don't have all day to legit check and look up prices and think about what you're trying to offer.
These 5 long years of trial and error were how Leo built up his expertise. He was burned plenty of times in the early days, rushing purchases, misjudging prices, or getting swindled with fakes, but he stuck with it, posting every day on Instagram, running raffles, live streaming, and growing inventory. When the pandemic came, he could no longer hit the streets and turned to selling online, exchanging with strangers at his local supermarket and shipping orders around the world. That was when the sneaker market exploded and his volume grew exponentially with consistency.
It's crazy. So back then during COVID, really any sneaker store that opened and had any like popular models would do well. But over time, people stopped getting stimulus checks. People stopped getting these extra lump sums in their accounts. People are a little more selective with their spending. And so over time, kind of the sneaker market is changing. Prices are definitely going down. The average sale price back then was probably $400 to $500. Nowadays, it's $250, if that. Any other industry, if you're holding a bunch of dead inventory and you don't get rid of it, then you're going to be cash flow negative.
From Leo's count, there were thousands of new sneaker shops around the country between 2021 and 2022. And it was normal to hear of stores in LA selling $50,000 to $60,000 worth of shoes in a single day once the stimulus checks started flowing. Shoes would fly off the shelves at any markup, and stores matched that demand in inventory and labor. But as the economy contracted the following year, there was a sudden reality shock that not every shoe would sell. And when shop owners did not adjust product or overhead, they went underwater from excessive payroll and worthless inventory. Fast forward to present day, and they're all sitting on shelves below retail. But the crash did not discourage Leo from opening a store. He felt Instagram had tapped out, he had navigated the downturn better than his peers, had saved up plenty of capital, and sought to tap into a bigger market. When the opportunity came to open up on Hollywood Boulevard last October, he jumped in feet first, and in 2 weeks, Courtside Hollywood was open. But selling online and selling in person are 2 different ballgames, and Leo has had to adjust.
The customers that come in here, a lot of them are tourists since we're on Hollywood Boulevard. So here we're looking for more so of a variety of shoes, which is something that I'm proud that we offer. A lot of shops are very brand new specific, and they feel like pre-owned is looked down upon, or they don't want to offer it to their customers because it creates this sort of image. To us, we feel like adding pre-owned to our location just gives people more to shop from. A lot of people aren't familiar also with the used shoe market, so they don't reap the benefits of the used shoe market. Versus us, we're very knowledgeable. We have pre-owned shoes that are priced at $50 to $100, but we also have the $2,000, $3,000 shoe for that specific customer.
For Leo, a store provides a certain longevity and experience that no Instagram or website will ever match, as customers can try on, buy, and trade in within minutes. There's a Foot Locker and Shoe Palace in the same mall, but he's not concerned. Courtside Hollywood, in his mind, caters to a different audience and stocks the higher-end sneakers that people would never find at a footwear chain. 85% of his customers are overseas tourists. While locals come in for an exact model, tourists are less knowledgeable. They're not interested in history or future appreciation and buy solely based on aesthetics and feel. This necessitates the need for brand diversity, like stocking New Balances and Asics on top of the usual suspects. But Leo's not signing any deals with these brands. In a wholesale contract, Leo doesn't get to choose what models he receives, and being saddled with inventory he can't move goes against his strength of knowing exactly what sells and what doesn't. Instead, he relies on the connections he's built through 6 years in the LA community to source new and pre-owned sneakers alike.
How much you looking for?
Talk to me, bro. Talk to me. I work with you. Lowest ass is what? Like
260. Bid is 230.
260. I think I saw 270, but if it's 260?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Let's do a coin flip. Give me your best offer.
I'd offer 200.
Nah, come on, man.
What do you want to do?
Man.
I can't do 260.
I'll do 220 or 260. Coin flip.
My best is 220. So if you want to do a coin flip, we could do like 240, 200.
Damn, you killing me. I got you, man.
I'm firm at 220, bro.
235.
I can't.
Deal.
I can't. I'm firm. If not, it's all good. Appreciate it, though. Next time.
I might come back.
Thank you, bro.
Right, bro.
Yep. It's business.
Since opening, Courtside Hollywood grosses on average $120,000 a month for an annual run rate of $1.4 million. Customers spent on average $290 per order last year, and that number has trailed downwards to $235 this year. His operating margin sits at 25%. He's leaning more these days into apparel, with brands like Supreme, CPFM, and St. Michael to balance the business. Pre-owned sneakers make up 20% of store sales, new sneakers are 40%, new apparel makes up 25%, and pre-owned apparel is 15%. With apparel, customer knowledge levels are generally lower and the arbitrage is much stronger, as profit margins there are generally 10 to 20% higher when compared against shoes. Leo's network is how he's scaled. His sales reps and manager are friends from high school and connections from his time on Melrose.
I think when I wanted to open a store was right when you kind of saw the downfall of sneakers. And not to say it's not doing well still, but just like when it was right from the peak going down to how it is now. I would say definitely against the grain and definitely during a tough time, but I think I proved to myself that I could do it.
Leo is just 21, and it's impossible to not respect his craft. He does it all with a maturity and long-term mindset that is rare for both his age and in a world where personality, fads, and shortcuts have taken precedence over ability. Out in the states of Pennsylvania and New York sits Justin Ashby, the sneaker king of the East Coast and the owner of Legacy Sneaker Boutique. While Leo represents the new generation of owners, Justin is an OG who's been in the game since 2010.
A young man who loves sneakers, especially basketball shoes, worn by his favorite pro athletes. But now he's turned that passion into a business and an impressive collection of kicks.
Justin started out as a collector before snowballing his hobby into a lucrative business, starting from his garage, then storage units, and eventually into multi-million-dollar stores and shopping malls across the Northeast. His flagship store is in New York City, right across from the iconic Empire State Building. While his business is near identical to Leo's despite being on opposite coasts, Justin's tenure gives him a sharp perspective and edge that few would be able to replicate.
We're in the Mecca here. We're in Midtown, right in front of the Empire State Building. We get hundreds and hundreds of tourists every single day, so it's not like we get a lot of repeat customers. So we're trying to leave a lasting impression for these people. When they're coming in, we want them to go back to their country. We want them to shop with us. We're giving them a business card when they make a purchase. They come in here, we have size charts for many different countries and stuff. We have people that help them with the language barrier. The customers coming from Germany are gonna want something different from somebody from England or somebody from China. So we try to have a little bit of everything. So we have a wide variety of sneakers, clothing, everything from the Europeans that just want runners and others that just want like Sambas to the Jordan 1s, Jordan 4s. We don't want a customer to come in here and it only be stuff that they can see like at every other store. So when they come in, first thing they see is that huge vault in the left. It's one of one. There's Nike mags in there. There's 1985 Jordan 1s, Louis Air Force 1s, all kinds of different samples and player exclusives. Some of the stuff is $10,000, $20,000, $100,000 in there. We don't sell too much out of that, but that's the most photographed area of the store. So like that's usually for us what gets put on social media.
Every aspect of Legacy, from the store-level staffing to the basement operations, is drawn from Justin's 14 years of experience. In comparison, it took Leo months of numbers crunching after opening to figure out who his customers were. Leo's transition from brick and mortar was not the simple lift and shift from Instagram that he had initially assumed. Meanwhile, Justin has opened stores over nearly 2 decades, in Lancaster, in the King of Prussia Mall, in the Willow Grove Park Mall, and then this one in Manhattan. While Leo's knowledge is rooted in LA, Justin sits at the 3,000-foot view and with an eye on the micro level of what sells today and the macro level of what's coming.
Sneaker market, it's definitely trending down right now. The entire economy right now, especially for small businesses, is struggling. It's not a necessity for someone to come in here and buy a $500 pair of sneakers. It never really was, but when people had the extra spending money, you do still have people that collect sneakers and people that want to buy the newest things. But just in general, from the last 20 years that I've been doing it, I've seen ups and downs. I don't remember another time where it's been this bad, where I can't see it getting back to what it was before 2, 3, 4 years ago. I think at that time, everybody had money. The world was shut down, 5 months, March to July, on the retail side anyway, until they started kind of opening malls and stuff again. During that time, people ain't working, but a lot of people were getting stimulus checks, PPP, plus like the unemployment was offering like $600 on top of the unemployment checks. It was like a perfect storm. And like we knew that wasn't gonna be like the reality of like the economy at that time, but we knew like take advantage of it now and figure it out later when things start to change. But at that time, it was like everything was selling, and a lot of people saw it. A lot of people took advantage of it. There's so many stores that popped up that are no longer in business anymore. A lot of people closed down because they thought that was like the new normal, and it was a bubble. It was a good 18 months, maybe 2 years, and I feel like now it dropped off even worse than what it was before COVID, which is pretty shocking. I think Nike, and I'm just speaking freely here, I feel like they've tried for many years to kind of combat resellers. They're trying to mass produce things. They're trying to put things in different locations. They're trying to go more direct to consumer by doing the sneakers app for a lot of their drops instead of putting more allocations into Foot Lockers and stuff like that. It's also hurting themselves as a brand. I mean, I saw their stock today went way down, and there's kind of a panic there. I saw they just cut 2%, I think, staffing earlier in June or late May. I think what they're doing, it's hurting everybody. It's hurting the resellers, it's hurting the retailers. Foot Locker, Finish Line, JD, and all these other big box retailers, they're not selling out anymore. We can't carry the same stuff that you're gonna be seeing sit at Foot Locker because it makes no sense. We need them to have their products sell out because that's where we're buying everything from a supply and demand standpoint. Like we wanna have the stuff that's no longer available. From an Adidas standpoint, Yeezy's no longer with them. His shoes are still doing good in the resale market, surprisingly enough. Adidas is struggling immensely without him, but they've been somehow still releasing Yeezys, and they keep saying it's leftover inventory that they already produced. But once that dries up, I think it'll be bad for them as well.
Having lived through so many store openings and closings, Justin has learned the hard way that no mall is the same. For Justin, there's just too many sellers and not enough buyers at the moment, and the bag holders are increasingly dumping their shoes to cut their losses, which only tanks the market even further.
I think right now it is more important than ever for the location. You have so many stores, the product's the same at most of the stores. So then next thing people look at is like the price. And a lot of times people are gonna go with the best price. So now for us, it's like, where are we gonna get the most foot traffic? Where are we gonna see the most amount of people that we can provide an experience to and potentially make a sell or leave a lasting impact on them? I actually started out on my own in Lancaster, PA, which is where I'm from. Still have a store there. I actually went to Mall of America a year after opening out in Minnesota. Great location, the biggest mall in the world at that time, and it did good, but my store was small and it was hard for me to run it being 3 hours away on a flight. So when me and my partners decided to open Legacy, we started in King of Prussia Mall. Same thing, another great mall, more high-end than Mall of America. That's where we were at during COVID. Did crazy numbers there. They wanted to shoot the rent way up. Didn't make sense. They put a competitor in there. After we were leaving King of Prussia, we ended up going to Willow Grove Mall, 10 miles, 15 miles away, trying to bring some of our core customer base over to us. But the mall itself, again, it wasn't a great mall. So it didn't make sense for us to stay there. We've always kind of dreamed big. Like we know what we're capable of, the systems that we've built, staff that we have. So we always kind of look at like the biggest opportunity. So once New York was presented to us and American Dream were presented to us, we felt like on the East Coast, those were two of the best options possible. Landlords we had to work with, get the rent drop. I think they understand that if we stay here and try to operate at the initial agreement that we had when we signed the lease, it's not gonna work for us and we end up having to leave. They're stuck with an empty store. So if they're stuck here with the empty store, it's gonna be tough for them to fill it up. Our landlords here have been great. Before we took this location, the space is vacant for 2 years. As you can imagine, the rent here in New York City is insane, and then imagine being in front of the Empire State Building, it's even worse.
Legacy's latest store is in New Jersey's American Dream, the second largest shopping mall in the country, and where he's hoping that the water park will pull in the traffic that's been dropping off everywhere else. At the peak of the sneaker market, the King of Prussia location was Justin's crown jewel and grossed $11 million in 2020. Their rent was just $6,000 a month, and during COVID, they grossed as much as $11,000 on a single Saturday or Sunday. This Manhattan store was supposed to be it, the biggest leap of faith, the culmination after so many years of grinding, and the one store to rule them all with the best location and foot traffic in the world. But the market downturn has made that hope a distant dream. Last year, Legacy's store in New York City grossed $7 million, but the gross figures only tell half the story. Even after discounts, rent is $104,000 a month and payroll is $50,000 a month. Because their store in New York City spans 2 floors at a combined 12,000 square feet, he needs a big team of 4 to 5 multilingual associates on the floor at all times to deter snatch and grabs, an inventory team downstairs, store managers, and a GM. If your store is in a market where everyone demands the trendiest and latest, you can't procure every pair yourself without risking hundreds of thousands of dollars on top of your already costly overhead. The fastest way to stock product instead is through consignment.
When we go for like these bigger locations, even the first location, with it being 2,000 square feet, I didn't want to open up and have a store look empty. I had the inventory that I had, I might have had 1,000 pairs or something at that time. It wasn't 1,000 unique pairs, so 1,000 pairs might have been, let's say 100 different pairs, so that doesn't fill up much of a wall. So being able to bring in consignment and consigners, it helps me, it helps them. It gives them a platform to sell. They don't have to do the work besides bringing the stuff to us. We make a small percentage, but it allows us to make money without investing that money. It allows us to fill up our shelves and a lot of space in the store with product that we wouldn't typically buy. For example, like this location, we have between 15 and 17,000 pairs of shoes downstairs. Out of that, there's so many shoes that we have down there that I wouldn't waste my time buying or putting my money into it. But even if it's here, once that shoe sells, like we just made $60 on a $300 shoe that didn't cost us anything.
The other trade-off with consignment is lack of control. The people bringing in their sneakers are the ones who get to set the price. For these reasons, most retailers, including Leo, stay away from consignment due to all this complexity and liability. What happens when you damage or lose someone's shoes? How do you issue payments? What if someone is overpricing their shoe? How do you keep co-signers happy while pushing your own higher margin inventory? Justin operates at a scale that only a handful of sneaker stores in the world have ever reached, even during the market peak. It's not so much the shoes in the front, but rather the system in the back. Legacy's back-end automation has been what's maintained their edge and growth at scale.
At my store in PA, I did do the pen and paper with like contracts and stuff for a while. I did this Excel spreadsheets, and I would spend hours every day at home like having to put everything into a spreadsheet of like who sold what. When we opened King of Prussia, we knew the volume was going to be too much to do that. So the portal we have now, I mean, it's almost absolutely perfect for us. We can see every piece of data you can imagine. When a customer first puts it in there, we have the option to approve it. So if customers are trying to bring stuff that we don't want or stuff that we don't allow, we can deny inventory we don't want, and they can book the appointment through there, or we can do our payouts through like a checkbook option. We can see when something was accepted. We can see what the price is like on other markets like StockX and Go. We can see the comparison of what somebody's shoe is compared to that. So if something is too high, we can always go back to them and say, hey, your shoe's $400, but it's X amount on StockX and stuff like that. So I think it's super valuable for us because it allows us to literally with a couple clicks of a button be able to do everything that we need to do from the inventory side, and just to be able to have that information available and all the data that we have from it. If we didn't have that, we wouldn't be able to survive here. We always look at the prices before we accept it. Sometimes we'll take a gamble and try to help consigners because obviously the more it sells for them, the more we make. It's a win-win for both of us. But we also have to look at the customers too. We don't want customers coming in here seeing every single shoe be grossly overpriced. It just makes us look bad. And we always have to relay that message back to the consigners too. If they're putting an astronomical price on something and they're saying, oh, I just want to try it out to see if we can sell for $500 and it's a $200 shoe, then we got to go back to them and let them know like, hey, it makes us look bad. They don't know that you're the consigner. They come into Legacy and they say, oh, Legacy's charging $500 for that shoe. Now we get a negative review on Google, or we just get an argument in the store of we're price gouging or whatever it may be. So we really try to stay on top of pricing before the shoe makes it in store. But even on top of that, like they have full access to their portal. So if a shoe's tanking, they can drop their price in real time. All of our shoes have QR codes on it. QR code automatically updates. So if a customer goes onto our iPad or they scan the bottom of a shoe, it'll have their updated pricing. Same thing with if a shoe starts going up in price, they can always change their price. We just ask everything to be $25 increments. If you're trying to bring a shoe in and someone has it at $250 and you try to put it at like $225, and we try not to allow too much undercutting, so we try to stay firm with that.
While consignment lowers product costs to zero, the trade-off is margins and control. Legacy makes 20% off every consigned sneaker sold. For a $300 shoe, that means Legacy's gross profit is really only $60, whereas the gross profits would be $100 or 30% under store-owned. But since Legacy also covers the credit card fees and pays out 1% commission to its employees, its gross profit margin on consignment sales is closer to 16%. At its peak, sneakers were a high-gross, high-margin business. But what happens when that margin disappears? For Legacy in New York City, 75% of sales are through consignment, and the other 25% are store-owned, for a total store-level operating margin of 24%. Legacy needs to gross at least $750,000 to break even at this location, and there's been plenty of months this year where they've missed that target. They used to gross $20,000 every Saturday last year, and Saturdays this year have been half of that. The average customer order size is $286 in Manhattan and $247 in Lancaster. Yet this isn't Justin's first bump in the road. He'll adapt as he's always done for the past 14 years.
I just think it's harder now for the younger resellers and entrepreneurs to connect. The biggest sneaker brand, I should say, in the market is Jordan brand, who's under Nike's umbrella. Michael Jordan retired with the Bulls in 1998, and retired with the Wizards in 2003. So, I mean, that's 21 years ago now. I mean, we got a lot of young entrepreneur and businessmen trying to get into the resale market that you see at these sneaker events. They're selling these shoes, but they have no connection to Michael Jordan when he was wearing a Flu game or a Concord. For us, like, we can say, oh, I remember when he first wore that at this game, or I remember when he won the championship in this game. So for us, it meant something to wear that shoe. It meant something to collect that shoe, and that's where the value came from. Now the value is just, you have so many sellers here. Everyone is trying to sell the same item, and again, there's no attachment to it. So they're selling it to somebody else in that same age bracket. That person that's buying it, they might buy it because it looks cool, but sometimes that's not enough for that shoe to have that value. Players now that are like the biggest names, LeBron and Giannis, their shoes don't do well for a resale standpoint. So that's why I think Nike taps into like DJ Khaled and Travis Scott and Drake. So they're trying to get into the influencers on the rapper side because they feel like they can relate more to the kids than somebody like MJ could, or Griffey or Penny, or somebody that was really doing it big in the 90s that carried the torch for us as collectors and sellers. When I first started, I would buy 3 pairs of a shoe when I was 15, 16 years old. And I would sell 2 of them on eBay, and I would use that profit to pay for my personal pair to keep in my collection to wear. So I started off small that way back in 2002. And as that kind of grew, and it grew slow because back then you would get one Jordan that would come out every month. It wasn't like today where you have 5, 6, 7 Jordans bi-weekly. So you really had to figure out what you could sell there. And it wasn't a big resale market. For me to make money in that market, I started going to the outlets, going to Nike outlet. And me and a friend of mine would travel literally all around the United States, going to different outlets. And he had a great network over in China of buyers that would buy some of the weirdest stuff. But we would go to outlets and buy 150 pairs of that shoe, and we might make $5 to $6 per shoe, but we would just literally buy it, fill up a town and country with the seats folded down, drive to FedEx, box them up, ship it, and go to the next outlet, and it's like a road trip. I think especially right now with the economy being as bad as it is, offering used shoes at a fraction of the price of a new shoe, it's a great option. For us in this location, I don't think it makes the most sense. Again, we're getting a lot of tourists, and some of these tourists, they're coming from so many different countries. They're not used to coming into like a store like this and then seeing used stuff, so we don't want to turn those customers off. My store back in PA, used shoes do really well. I probably make more profit on a used shoe than I do on a new shoe 9 out of 10 times. So it is smart. It is a market I think that most sneaker stores need to have. I don't think you can go wrong. Like at my store back home, I make sure that we have the original box for it. I don't take nothing like beat up. I know some stores, they'll take anything. I still want to kind of uphold the image. Like we try to be like an upscale boutique. I don't want people coming in picking up beat up shoes.
But Justin's not here pining for the good old days. Instead, he understands that every generation has its place, and adaptation is everything in this game.
We're out here grinding in a store, and I'll be honest, it's not fun. I've been doing it too long. Like, I hate retail now. I know 16 and 17-year-old kids that are building Discords and building consignment systems, and they're still doing like these add to carts and bots and stuff like that. They get to sit there and be behind their computer. They're literally not buying the shoes for the most part. They're doing it for other people, and they're charging them a fee. So they're making 6 figures, sometimes in a month, to sit back on a computer and have all the freedom in the world. Like, they don't have to get up and come to the store and deal with customers or deal with staff or deal with the normal day-to-day issues that we have to deal with as owners with 6-figure overhead every month, or even if you take the dollar amount, like even just overhead in general. I would love to be in their position, and I think them coming up, they looked at people like us and saw what we had, and they figured out how to do it better, and hats off to them. I think they're doing a great job.
The sneaker industry is a modern case study on not just how fast consumer markets can change, but also the importance of adaptation and expertise in business. Leo and Justin are generations apart and on opposite coasts, but they're also two owners with more similarities than differences. In a game that many treat as a side hustle, the two have scraped, honed, and built up their expertise from one sneaker into thousands of shoes over 14 years of trial and error. Their knowledge is their moat, and they've applied it in different ways. Everything is all floating around in their heads. It's not written down or sold on an online course. In business, there are no get-rich-quick schemes, no shortcuts to wisdom, and no asset more valuable than original insight.